Hello boys and girls, today we're going to talk about additive sculpture. Now when you make a sculpture, the first thing that we're going to do in the art room is make some kind of base. So you can see in the video that my fingers are shaping a base for my project. I'm going to make a silly face guy. So the first thing I'm going to do is make something that's shaped almost like a skull, sort of an egg shape, and I'm going to use my thumbs to push in the eye sockets. Now, when you use clay to make an additive sculpture, you're adding clay to other clay. So I have my base is my skull shape. Now I need to add clay to that. That's what makes it additive. Additive clay sculptures are when you add clay to other clay. Whenever we add clay to other clay, we always have to slip and score both sides. So you might notice in the video that I'm taking a comb and scoring both sides of the clay with the comb. I'm just scraping both sides with the comb to make them a little bit rough. That's what scoring is. Then the second thing I do is take my toothbrush and get some slip on my toothbrush and add a little bit of slip to both sides. After I add the slip, I push the two pieces together. When you push the two pieces together, it helps get rid of air bubbles that might be trapped behind the clay. We really don't want any air bubbles back there. After I push the clay together, I gently take my finger or thumb and I just blend where the clay attaches a little bit. Sometimes I blend it more if I want to make it look like one piece of clay, but sometimes I just use my finger to sweep over the edges a little bit. That's basically the process of adding clay together. We're going to go over that a couple times because it's pretty important. You're going to shape the piece you want to attach. So right now I just shaped an eyebrow. With my fingers, I shaped the eyebrow. Then I score both sides with a comb. I add slip to both sides with a comb. And then I push the two pieces together to get rid of any air bubbles and gently blend them a little bit with my finger or thumb. You also can use your tools to cut or push into the clay. That metal knife I used is called a fettling knife. That's really good at cutting into the clay. That wooden tool I'm using is called a modeling tool. And modeling tools are really good for shaping clay and sculpting clay, especially in parts where you can't reach. So if I want to sculpt the inside of the mouth, that's too small for my finger to get in there. So I'm going to be using a modeling tool for that. It's just much easier. Modeling tools are great because they're very smooth and they don't stick to your clay like a metal tool would. I'm going to continue to add details with my tools. I'm going to push in little wrinkles. I might add those pupils of the eyes I just pushed in with a little dowel. I'm just going to keep adding pieces of clay by sculpting them, scoring, slipping, and blending, and pressing in details to my piece. That's basically the process of additive clay. I'm actually adding a little hat right now, so I'm putting in the brim of kind of like a cowboy hat. And then I'm going to add the top piece and just continue to work with my clay. Now, you might notice that as I work, I'm trying to keep my clay as clean as possible. I'm trying to make sure there's no parts that I don't want. So if it's bumpy or has a wrinkle in it or a crack, I'm trying to keep those all smoothed out as I work. It's much, much easier with additive clay projects if you make sure you're using good craftsmanship as you go versus trying to clean it up at the end. Cleaning things up at the end with clay makes it just take a lot longer and it's a lot harder. One other thing I need to do before I'm done with this piece is I'm going to take a loop tool and hollow out the back because clay should only really be about an inch thick when we fire it, otherwise it might crack or break or even explode. So I will take a loop tool in just a moment and I will scoop out the back of the clay, kind of like an ice cream scoop, to make the front part only an inch thick. That's basically it, boys and girls. Sculpting the piece, scoring it, slipping it, and blending it. And that's it, additive sculpture.